Cost of auto insurance has been going up in much of the country for a variety of reasons. Florida, our third most populous state at this point, fourth, whatever, has a terrible problem with the cost of auto insurance because it's lawsuit heaven. You drive down I-95 on the East Coast, I-75 on the West Coast of Florida, and there's a billboard every second and a half, it feels like, and there'll be people smiling, I got my check, look at this, got my check. It's treated as if it's a lottery being in an accident in Florida. And, you know, insurance is regulated by each of the states. And there are states that are lawsuit happy, like Florida, and there are those that are more restricted. And in turn, in states where it's really easy to sue people just because the cost of auto insurance goes way up. In addition, you noticed people don't drive as well as they did pre-COVID. Something happened in our brains. And all over the country, people talk about how drivers have been more aggressive after the COVID. COVID was dramatic, traumatic, caused a lot of mental anguish, anxiety, mental illness, and aggression in people and frustration. And they're taking it out behind the wheel. And it's led to more accidents, more serious accidents. So auto insurers, you know, part of what makes the premiums go up is those things, the accident rates. You know what else makes them go up? Right now it costs a lot more to repair a vehicle, and if one's totaled, what you get for it, a lot more from the insurer. I was talking to someone who was in an accident where the vehicle was totaled out by the insurer, and she was asking, was the amount offered by the insurer fair? And it was a very old car with a lot of miles on it. And I went online, and man, I was sure the insurer was paying too much money on that claim. Not too little, too much. And I put it through two of the things where you can estimate current value of a vehicle, and the insurer was right on the money and paying much more than that vehicle would have cost totaled out than pre-COVID. But because we're in the midst of this continuing, although lessening shortage, which is why used car prices have been trending down after having gone up, what they go up 70% or something, some huge amount, starting to come down some. But auto insurers having to pay claims when a vehicle totals out, they're having to pay a lot more. When one's repaired, the cost of body shop repairs have gone up. And so there's lots of pressures, cost pressures on the insurer. So on our side, where can we make a difference? One of them has been controversial since it started more than 15 years ago with Progressive Insurance as an experiment, now is widely done, and that's if you allow the insurer to track how you drive. If you're not driving like one of these crazy people, how they're driving now with this reckless aggressiveness on the roads, and you're just tootling along, if you allow the telematics in the vehicle, where the insurer tracks you on with an app on your cell phone or a device they plug in to the car, and you are really driving cautiously, it will save you a decent amount of money, no doubt. Other things you got to do, shop your insurance. I told you before about how Allstate was very unhappy with their financial performance, and the Allstate execs were telling the financial community how aggressive they were going to be raising rates. And they've been doing it. So if you're an Allstate insured, you may be a sitting duck for much higher premiums. But this is not just to pick on Allstate. With any insurer, you see a big premium increase. Insurers rate people differently. They're looking for different pricing in different markets. Shopping your auto insurance, really, really important. Make sure you're getting the same quote in terms of getting the same coverage limits as you shop around. And speaking of that, when you are reshopping your auto insurance, raise your deductible as high as insurers will allow. You don't want to make a claim for $300 anyway, or $500. You don't want that $250 deductible. You don't want that $500 deductible. A lot of insurers, you get a decent premium cut if you go to a grand. And a grand will be okay typically with, if you have an auto loan, whoever your vehicle loan is with. So those coverages that you have matter. And one of them that's very important, if you have a decent amount of assets, it's going to cost you more. Make sure you have sufficient liability coverage with your insurer. Liability coverage is an area where people neglect at their peril. I shared with you last year a story about a very successful surgeon who ended up bankrupt because he had state minimums on his insurance, and his teenage daughter had a wreck that was a catastrophic wreck, and the judgment was huge, and it forced the doctor into bankruptcy. You want to make sure if you've got decent assets that you got decent coverage. Again, that will cost you in the short term, may save you big money in the long term.